Ladies and gentlemen, MrCropper here. Let's have a long little discussion about what we're building. What I want to build. What do I think I'm building? What do you want to build? What do we want to build? Let's have this discussion. Now, I'm going to start off with this thing with Rucka. This is going to be a little bit disorganized video, but that's okay. We've got quite a few little things to cover, and they all sort of fit in. What is MrCropper doing? Where is this channel going? Okay, let's hear what Rucka says here.
There's a lot to be happy about, especially in the context of history. We still have a lot to be glad about. But again, it is troubling. It is troubling to see that virtually nobody is championing individual rights in the arena, and even fewer people are championing, reason as a faculty of the individual. So it's frustrating. I do like. I guess let me tell you, as an audience member, I'd like to see you. I guess like.
Now, let me pause there for a second. I think he's wrong that nobody, and I didn't really, think of it at the time. My apologies, Rucka, but I think he's wrong that nobody's championing reason or individual rights. I think we can see even some of the rabble championing reason in some ways. But what really comes to mind is like Dave Rubin and Jordan Peterson. Are they champions of reason in the sense that they know what the theory of concept formation and induction is? No, they have no idea. But they are theories of they're champions for reason in the sense that they want to protect free speech because they know that the only way for us to get forward in any situation is to discuss it. They know these things. So there's a basic background truth that I want to point out to objectivists who think that you have to have all of your theories 100% in line in order to do something correctly. But that isn't really true. You can sometimes do something correctly based on the evidence. And not always. Sometimes you need to have a good theory. But it is the fact that the Model T was built by a person who wasn't an objectivist. It is a fact that people were put on the moon, and very few of those people were objectivists. Very, very vanishingly small number. And it's a fact that we won the Second World War, and there was no objectivism to be seen. And it's a fact that the United States of America was established, and those people were not objectivist. Sometimes, if you do things based on your understanding of the facts, and those understanding of the facts are true, like, for example, you understand freedom of speech is important, so you defend it. It doesn't really matter whether or not you go to church. It might be dissonance inside your own life, inside your own head, but still, you protected freedom of speech. And Western civilization is built inside of a chamber of dissonance like that. We've got religion, we've got altruism, we've got charity as a virtue and all this garbage, but we've got freedom of speech, we've got freedom of the press, we've got separation of church and state. So when he says nobody is speaking up for reason, I would say everybody who's speaking up for free speech gets my vote as being in favor of reason over the left. The left wants to destroy free speech. The right still is willing to go speak at a university. Not the left. They won't let speakers speak at universities anymore. So there is a group that's protecting reason and individual rights insofar as they protect the Constitution and they want to defend Western civilization from the disintegration offered by the left. So I take exception to that, Rucka, and I wanted to make that statement at some point somewhere. Now I've done that. Now, I was offered the question by Existence University, He says, "What has MrCropper built? I'm done with guys like you and Charles too, who sit around and do nothing." So I went back to my videos to see how long since I came back to YouTube and what's been going on. And I found this video, An Objective View of Immigration. And so I watched it to see how much my views have changed since then, because supposedly I'm moving away from the objectivists and over to the anti-ablectivist group objectivists. But I'm not moving anywhere. I'm standing very, very solid. Listen to what I say here. So we should have had a much bigger nation. We shouldn't have checked. Oh, this was on how many Chinese should we have let come in. And so I'm waffling, as I am still today, on whether or not we should have had those Chinese come in and stay. Did our grandfathers and fathers make a good decision on that? I'm not sure. But if we allowed the Chinese to come in and stay, and they Americanized the way that the Spanish Americans who are already here for generations have done, and a lot of them are just considered white, you know, and the way that the Irish have done. If they came in and Americanized, we could have a very big, strong, powerful population and country. If they came in and stayed separate, maybe not. And maybe that's why our fathers and grandfathers and great-grandfathers sent the Chinese back. So I still have no clarity on that position. I can't second guess history. What if they would have stayed? I don't know. But when I do second guess history, I'm second guessing our grandfathers and great grandfathers who gave us this country. And that's a weird position to take. So be careful when you take that position. So I'm still not clear because I can't second guess history on that. But my overall view on immigration, that we should dismantle the welfare state, and then open borders wouldn't be a concern because people who came here would either be productive or they would have to leave. That stance hasn't changed. Checked immigration so much. Not that they didn't think that the Chinese wouldn't take over. That's what they thought. The Chinese would take over the West Coast and own California. Possibly that could have happened. I don't know. Maybe the Mexicans will take California back. It looks like they kind of own it right now. So I don't know what else to say about it, except that those of you who are mad dogs in favor of open borders, come on. You don't have locks on your doors at your house? And those of you who are against immigration, come on. You really want to shut down immigration? When? What year? When do you get to do that? Would you have shut down immigration 100 years ago? 50 years ago? So, there we go. I'm neither against immigration nor for open borders while we have a big welfare state. Same as I am today. Is it a principled stance? Yes. I'm in favor of the principle of freedom and individual rights. So, yeah, it's a very principled stance. I'm using objectivism to live in the real world we actually live in today. So what am I building then? Let's just go look at the videos for a second here. What I'm building, going back here, is Objectivist Gathering, MrCropper Convention. Okay, there's one hint of what might be being built. The fact that maybe like before, like my channel when I first got on YouTube, maybe I'm more than just one little guy over at the corner. Okay? You know, I don't know. I think of myself as just one guy out there, and yet, okay, now as Existence University puts it, I'm just sitting and doing nothing, like Charles too, and talking about how great I am and how everybody else is stupid. And so, if this is to go anywhere at all, from just attacking people who attack Ayn Rand to something more constructive, and doing the philosophy is good. What am I building? I'm building a channel here, right? I'm building a brand. I'm building a reputation. So the interviews that are coming up is part of what I'm building. This is an evolving project. when I came back on YouTube, I said, what am I here to do? I didn't know exactly what I'm here to do. All I know is that a bunch of people are paying Charles II a lot of money, and I was really shocked by that situation. Now, it's starting to clarify itself a little. I just don't know how he ever got to make that much money from so many people. I don't know what the hell he was producing that was that fantastic. I've watched his videos. So, what am I here for? I'm here because I was astounded at the desire for objectivist content I thought we could all just go to the Ayn Rand Institute for. So I come back and people say, yeah, the Ayn Rand Institute not so good anymore. I said, what? They said, yeah, leftivism, all this. I said, no, come on. But I looked into it and here I am. So here I am today. I'm not a Platonic, divorced from reality Kantian who just has his ideas and his philosophy and doesn't care about reality, right? And I'm not some pragmatic guy who just looks at reality and doesn't care about philosophy. So in the reality today, if I'm on the right or if I support Trump, for example, it's only because of my philosophy. Okay? So that I'm neither reality only nor ideas only. Okay? I'm integrated. I'm objective. What am I building here? I don't know. I don't know what I'm building besides just doing what I believe at every step of the way. Now, what do I believe is going on today? I believe that there are some big problems with leftists. They've infiltrated the Ayn Rand Institute somehow. What is the source of this? I don't know. Is it Ayn Rand's writings? That was my chair squeaking. That was not a fart. Was it Ayn Rand's writings that caused this? And they're just obsessed with Ayn Rand's writings? Was it Ayn Rand's potentially shallow political commentary? Like she says about Reagan, I could never support him because he's against abortion. Reagan was brilliant. Tear down this wall. Reagan was a brilliant, amazing defender of freedom. I swear to God, I swear I will mute this phone. Reagan is a brilliant defender of freedom. And if Ayn Rand could have lived through his administration, maybe she would have changed her mind and said that. And said, yes, I was wrong about him. He was a brilliant defender of freedom. But maybe not. Maybe the people, even though they're living in the age of Trump, some of these objectivists, they still hate Trump. So maybe facts wouldn't change their mind. I don't know. It's pretty rough. But I tell you what, here's the situation we're in right now. I dissent from Yaron Brook, who is president of the Ayn Rand Institute. I dissent on something that I think is pretty important. I've got some people with me, Sonny, for example, of the Sonny podcast, and all my Patreons. Some of you are important and long-term objectivists. So what am I building here? Well, I'm kind of like a politician of oblectivism, or a politician of. I say that I don't want to say a politician of objectivism. It just is wrong. I'm a politician of the oblectivist scene. I wouldn't be saying. I mean, let me just set it like this. When I thought Ayn Rand Institute was doing fine, back then in those crazy days, a few months back, when I didn't dissent overall from what was going on there, not that I dissent overall from what's going on there, I'm just very angry about these leftists, these leftards. Back then, I thought that my job was to do something like a really good, interesting series on Rome, right? So good objectivist content. Charles II's making content. What should MrCropper make? That's what I thought back then. Now, maybe Rome is interesting. Let me go to this right here. This is the objectivedissent.org, and they've got this very interesting paragraph at the very introduction here. The date is December 3rd, 406 AD. It's so cold the Rhine has frozen over completely. Now, normally the Rhine is a barrier, but when it freezes over, lots and lots of German immigrants pour over the border. The Roman garrisons can't prevent them. They flood down into Lower Rome. Crossing the Pyrenees, barbarians descend upon the wealthy Spanish plain and despoil the peaceful civilization that took centuries to create. I want to point something out to you, ladies and gentlemen. In the year 1900, the United States of America had roads and it didn't have freeways yet. Those were built in the 50s, right? But we did have roads and sewer systems. We even had an infant electric grid by the year 1900. And we had cities. We had cities full of buildings. Almost all the buildings have been torn down and gone now. So virtually nothing from the year 1900 remains. But what they had built by the year 1900, in order to build what we have today, what they were able to build by the year 1900, took them 100 years to build. These things are not just created out of thin air. They're not created out of nothing. And what we have today, what they built in the year 1900, came from the 1850s and 1820s. And all of that came from 1776 and 1787. The Constitution was signed in 1787. All of it's built on the Constitution. Everything in America. If you don't think so, then just look at Europe. Everything there's been rebuilt since 1945. We haven't rebuilt since 1776 in America. There was the Civil War. But we have a very long, enduring thing here. It can be destroyed and despoiled. Rome was. So this is an interesting thing here. I'll try to remember to put the link for this video into this blog here, The Objective Dissent. We have been handed something by our fathers and grandfathers, and other people, certain places in the world, have not been handed something. Our fathers and grandfathers came here and built something when the rest of the world was broiling hell. So now I want to tease you. Now I got to tell you about what I've got on my channel, ready to go. We have got some videos. Let me just show you here. And I'm waiting for some more Patreon support. I don't know if I'm going to get it, because apparently this ablectivism debate has lost me some friends. But I've got Land's Socialism, the formula for world poverty. Somebody left a comment with his kooky website, and I went and talked about every point on his website. So that video's up. My current mission statement. So that's what I'm talking about here, except a mission statement. An operating mission statement. Now, a mission statement isn't your war statement. It's a mission. Like you go out on a mission, and it takes you 4 to 8 hours, and then you come back. And so then maybe this mission statement is a 4 to 8 hour statement. It's a 4 to 8 month statement, or maybe it's just one mission statement that we're going to send some troops on, or something like that. But you won't know until we get some more Patreon support. Bruno's Ablectivism Cafe. I found one mistake on episodes 1 through 12 of Bruno's Ablectivism Cafe. So you want to know what that mistake is? And you can, and so, all right, the next one, Giovanni from France. France has an objectivist scene consisting of approximately 2 people, sadly enough. And it's not a very popping objectivist scene. I did an interview with the guy. It's an hour and 36 minutes. Now, I did a teaser video with a little snippet from that, and the sound quality was so poor, I promise it's not as bad as that in the actual interview. That was a recording of a recording, so that was quite bad. The sound quality in the actual interview is much better. Doug from The Rational Capitalist, he hangs out with Sonny, and they do the Sonny podcast. And that was a very good interview. It only went 36 minutes. I felt like we could have talked more, but turns out I will be on Sonny's podcast Wednesday 6 days from today as I'm taping this. So those videos right now have 0 views. I went and viewed this one, so it's got 1 view. 0 and 0. Because those are set to private right now. So let's get some more Patreon support so I can make these videos public. I would like to say I would like it over $200 to make it public. You know, like 3 months trying to gather Patreon support, and that's up to me to make sure I'm producing value. So I've produced some value here. If say 3 or 4 or 5 of you get on there and add $5 or $10 each, I'll make this stuff public. That's a benefit to you at a small cost, and a benefit to me at a small cost of just clicking OK. Well, I mean a small cost. It took me all day to do the interviews and videos. Alright, there we are, ladies and gentlemen. I do appreciate your patronizing me. What am I building? I'm building what you guys have steered me towards and what I think of it. Okay, I'm not listening to anybody. I'm not taking orders. Like I said, I'll drive this bus. That's what I'm building.